They are the communications marvels of our time. Computers, cell phones, music players, big screen televisions. Technical wonders that let us reach around the world for information and entertainment. But wait until you see what happens to all those gadgets when we throw them out, even when we think they're being recycled.
I bought my first computer in the 1980s. Since then, in a quarter of a century of upgrades and updates, I've bought countless new machines without ever thinking much about what happened to the old ones, until I came to Guiyu. The streets of this town in southern China are lined with what the rest of the world throws away. Guiyu is a monument to the waste of the electronic age. Discarded gadgets arrive by the truckload. If people elsewhere are wealthy enough to toss this stuff out, people here are poor enough to make a living breaking it down to recover every scrap of valuable raw material. Now, most of the dirty work is done by migrant workers. People from poorer parts of China eager to earn a few dollars a day, burning and bashing electronic junk to get at the precious metals inside. Even plastic can be resold for scrap. Very little goes to waste, except for the health of the workers. In 2001, researchers from an environmental group called the Basel Action Network, BAN, brought their camera to Guiyu, hoping to show Western consumers how discarded computers are disposed of. 4 years later, in 2005, Greenpeace undertook a similar investigation and found that little had changed. Workers demonstrated how they melted down circuit boards and plunged them into acid baths, generating noxious clouds of orange smoke, then dumping the residue in the river. The two investigations led to unwelcome publicity in China itself. And this year we found that people are still doing the same things, but they're much more secretive about it. The consequences of this toxic trade can't be hidden. The earth and the water are contaminated beyond redemption. Children are more vulnerable to lead poisoning than adults, but their parents are also exposed to many hazardous chemicals, which can cause skin lesions, neurological problems, and eventually cancer. The most dangerous processes are no longer carried out in the open. But fire and acid are the cheapest ways to extract metals, so they're still used. It's estimated that more than 3 million tons of e-waste transit through Hong Kong to mainland China every year. And guess where a shocking amount of that e-waste is coming from? That's right, it's coming from Canada. There are no reliable figures for the amount of e-waste leaving the port of Vancouver every day, but it's a lot. It's illegal in Canada to ship e-waste to countries like China. In fact, we've signed a United Nations treaty promising not to do it. But enforcement of the law is very weak. If dumping e-waste were an Olympic sport, Canada would win a silver medal. The United States gets the gold. As a country, are we doing what we can, or are we doing what we can get away with? Safe handling of electronic waste is complicated and expensive. It's so much easier to ship our toxic problems to people on the other side of the world than to do our own dirty work. Patrick Brown, CBC News, Guiyu, China.
So, what can you do if you want to get rid of e-waste without harming that other E, the environment? Well, as you can imagine, this story hits close to home here at the CBC. Technology plays a big part in how we get our stories and our programs to you. So what do we do with our old equipment? Where does it go? This is where Canada's unwanted electronics should go to die. The company's called GEEP, and it's pushing Barrie, Ontario to the cutting edge of the recycling world. The company's founder, Alfred Hompsch, let us look around his operation this afternoon. Here, garbage is spun into gold.
When you have the equipment to take waste streams away from landfills and turn it into commodities, I think it's worthwhile doing.
If a computer can't be reused or refurbished, it ends up on this conveyor. The crushed components come out here, where people sift for valuable materials: plastic, circuit boards, wiring, and copper bearings. An automated sorter looks for anything that might be missed. Think of it as above-ground mining. And there is energy here as well. The company started up with 3 employees. It's grown to more than 400, and there are plans to get even bigger. It has 25 drop-off points across Canada. You can find out where they are on the National's website. There are also links to some of the organizations mentioned in Patrick's documentary and tips on what you can do to make sure your e-waste is recycled safely.